Randy, when you call a blitz and the blitz ends up going 50 yards in the end zone, how do you feel personally about something? What goes through your head?
I try to go to the next play.
Yeah.
I like the ones that go 50 yards the other way, or interceptions for touchdowns, or the ones that we get the sacks and all that kind of stuff. But it happens. It's part of the game. You can either whine about it or you can go to the next one.
But you had a lot of time to think about it because you didn't have a next play to call until the next series, defensive series. Well, how did you feel about the call?
Explain which one you're talking about.
Servasia's interception.
I was pretty much shocked at the time. No, quite frankly, I was just happy for him. We'd spent a lot of time studying that. Those specific shovel passes were a big part of their game, and that was part of Friday's preparation. And so, you feel good that the kids are, taking what you're teaching to the next level, and that's what he did. So, but yeah, it was, like you said, I celebrated for a second, and just like with winning the game, you got to turn right around and go do it again. Because that's a team that can turn right around and go the other way 50 yards, as you know. So.
When we asked Voss about it, he was like, "Well, that wasn't me." He was like, "That was just positioning. That was just where you schemed him to be." How disciplined has he been this year, or how more disciplined has he been this year as you've coached him to be in the right spot, and considering he plays multiple linebacker spots?
Well, the beautiful thing with him, and really, I'm going to be honest with you, with most of the guys on defense, is that they have taken the preparation to the game. And that's why we've had a chance to win games, is that the guys are taking what we're practicing, they're understanding why something would be done, and then taking it to the game. And fortunately, sometimes even I get one right. So.
Have you seen an even higher level of that after Western Michigan?
Yes, every week, and we don't forget that game. We want to move by it, but we have not forgotten it. We will not.
Randy, when you say you won't forget it, what do you mean? What exactly do you mean by that? Is it just motivation? Is it lessons?
Well, I think when you're 18 to 21, you got to learn from your mistakes. When you're 50 and 60 like me, you got to learn from your mistakes, because if you do it again, it's pretty silly. And I believe that's what we're doing. We've learned from our mistakes, and we've come by it, and we're going to continue to do that. And 1 week at a time, one game at a time, one play at a time.
You have 3 conference games where you've held an opponent to 21 points or less. Do you feel like, maybe talk about that Western Michigan game, like you guys are taking it personally, and it's a challenge each and every week?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be personal the rest of the year. We're going to take it that way, and it's, like I said, we're not forgetting it.
Randy, when you look at some of the scores around the league, there's a lot of points being scored in other games outside of your own.
Sure.
What do you, when you look around, what do you attribute that to? Does that, is that just there's a lot of good skill guys in this league, or is it the fact this is the way the game's going, and are you guys?
It's a great question. I've thought about that. I really, truly believe that the COVID year, fifth-year guy has really benefited offenses. You think about the guys even at Pitt, that are here for another year. I think that has made offenses better, than maybe they would have. Now, will that fall next year? We'll see. There's just an inference based on seeing the guys who've come back. It's kind of hurt Miami because the guy came back and he's got hurt again. But, for those guys, that extra year is like a rookie in the NFL type guy.
Building off that, what do you see from the freshman, Van Dyke, the kid that's
Boy, I'll tell you what, I think he's a really mature guy. I've seen him now, he started 3 or 4 games now, and every week you see him getting better. They have tremendous wide receivers, and I think he's becoming more and more confident. He throws a great ball, and I'm sure that's why he was a 5-star recruit. And I just see him continuing to get better as he plays them more and more.
They're a pretty balanced team as well.
They have a great running back. He can really run. They're young at running back, but they have great speed, and I believe it balances their offense with the great passing game. So, yeah, they're a very balanced offense. They're a very good offense.
With the defense's experience this year, so when you see, regardless of how Van Dyke is playing as a freshman, do you see maybe an opportunity to pressure him, getting his head, trying to rattle him a bit in that way that he's a young guy?
Sure. I think we try to rattle every quarterback. That's the object of what we do on defense. But I think they have a great scheme, and quite frankly, we're going to have to put some new things in, to defend what they do. And we've been working on this since we left, Miami a year ago. So can't wait to play it.
How do their receivers differ from Clemson? Clemson obviously has those big 6'4" guys.
I would say they're not 6'3", 6'4", but they're every bit as good. I think they're as fast, they're as athletic. They have multiple guys who can run by you, and so I don't think, other than the fact that they can, the Clemson guys are more of a push you off because of size. I think they're just as skilled and just as good a wide receiving corps, quite frankly.
Something you said a minute ago intrigues me. But how much time do you spend on Miami before this season? You said
well, we spend about a week in the spring on all of our conference opponents. So,
and what did you learn, or what did you see from that week?
I'll show you after the game.
What about Miami? Miami has a lot of speed.
Well, here's the one thing you got to remember. Now, we were watching a different quarterback.
Right, that's true.
Totally different. I mean, he was more of an athletic running type quarterback who could run RPOs and do all those things. And I think that Dyke's a really polished thrower who runs the game well. But some of the plays that they ran with King probably wouldn't run with him, just because it's a different kind of athlete.
That week in the spring wasn't a waste of time then, was it?
Oh, no.
How pleased are you with the growth of Brandon Hill, the guy that started that Florida State game last year, to a guy being named the Ford Award semifinalist this week?
Sure. Brandon continues to get better, and I'm really proud of him. He's continuing to be a leader of the defense, and quite frankly, there's quite a few of those guys I could name. Damn near half dozen of them that are well above where we would expect them to be at this point, considering we lost 6 NFL football players on defense.
Off the field, where have you seen him grow in terms of being a leader within the room?
Well, I think he goes in and studies tape, does a lot of things off the field without coaches, and that's the impressive thing. And I believe the beautiful thing for this whole group on defense is they learned from some great kids last year, who are playing in the NFL, and I believe they're taking that, all that knowledge that they learn, and then adding it to the field, making them better players.
Where does Savosky see most of his snaps on Saturday, and where was he lined up for the interception?
He'll probably play both Mike and Money. We'll probably bounce him around.
Was he at Money or Mike for the interception?
He was at Mike.
Mike,
yes.
Okay, I believe.
It's hard for me to remember. I'm getting too old. But he bounces around. We try to keep everybody fresh, and sometimes you're going to win games in the fourth quarter, and you got to be fresh. So the more guys we rotate in, the better. And as you guys know, guys are going to go down, and as guys go down, more guys have played more football. Will be better at the end of the season.
What's different from Brandon's partner back there in Eric? You saw him. There were times that where he looked like he might have been still trying to figure things out. But
who's that, Brandon?
Eric Hallett.
Eric.
But it seemed like especially the last few games, he was DB of the week in the ACC a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
And he's out there. Kind of seemed like he's in place a lot more often.
Well, here's the difference. I think when you look at Eric. Eric played corner.
Mm-hmm.
He played nickel. He played safety over the last 2 years. He's actually probably got more snaps than Brandon. The problem is he hasn't been at one position. So as you watch him get more mature at his position, the better you see him get. And I believe that's what you're seeing.
7 of your starters on defense are from Florida. Do you think they take this game with a little more, more excitement playing a team like Miami?
Oh, probably. I would say they know a lot of their kids and vice versa. But you'll have some of them. You can ask them.
Randy, you mentioned how fifth-year offensive players might be benefited from COVID. During camp, did you see, Pat talked about how Kenny made defenders look like they were running in mud. That was the way that he described it. Did you see, from this offensive first team, did you see this coming, this sort of explosion?
I did. I wasn't sure how good we were going to be on defense because we couldn't stop them. And, ultimately, I'm glad we're better and he's as good as he is. It just makes, it's showing right now.
In what ways, as a defensive guy, what do you see different from him than you saw
I think he
last
makes
year?
tremendous decisions. He's able to run when he needs to. I think there's other times when he's smart enough not to take a hit. And, on Saturday, he had to make some big plays, and he did, threw his body in there. Other times you don't have to do that. And I think that's where the maturity comes for him. And then just throwing the ball to where it needs to go. There's been some throws, and you see him upstairs in the press box. It's like, that was perfectly thrown. There's nobody who can catch it but our wide receivers. So.
What have you seen from Kalijah Cansey so far, seven games in here?
Kalijah's been what I've expected, quite frankly. Quick, aggressive. We try to free him up as much as we can to be the aggressive guy he is. And he's playing a lot more physical because he's not a massive defensive tackle. He's able to hang in there on double teams and do things that he was good at last year, but I think he's even better at this year.
And then when you get him one-on-one, I mean, how, I guess, even fun is it as a defensive coordinator when you're able to scheme that up and get him, going free on a running back like he was at Virginia Tech?
Well, it's a great thing, but I mean, quite frankly, I rely on Coach Partridge a lot of times for that, so I give him most of the